Hi everyone and welcome to another card tutorials. Today a card tutorial is all about pattern paper diagonal cut technique, which makes actually two backgrounds at the one time. So I decided to make two different cards out of those backgrounds in this video. Today's video is also the first part of a little mini series about Christmas in August, so hopefully we will get a whole bunch of Christmas cards out of this, and I have enough cards to actually send out in December. So yeah, welcome to this video. As usual, I start off with the coloring, and today's coloring is on Lil Angel, which is a digital image by Make It Crafty, and if you want to get her, you can find links in the description down below. And as usual, this image is, or this coloring is sped up very much. But if you want to see the real-time coloring and listen to me babble about how I have done this and kind of give you some tips on techniques specifically for the red hair, there will be a link to that video in the description up in the right corner at the end of the video. So yeah, I hope you will enjoy this this video, so let's get started. Today I decided to again coloring Little Angel. I have colored her before, and then I went in with very light colors. I gave her platinum blonde hair, I gave her like white wings, white clothing. She was very subtle and neutral and sweet. But this time I wanted to make something different. I wanted to show you that you can color an angel anyhow you want to, and the freckles on her nose just made me want to give her red hair. Red hair is actually one of the colors of hair I love coloring most. I have pink hair, by the way, and I don't have red hair naturally anyhow, but red hair, it is beautiful. It's something extra, something beautiful. So I'm using my favorite red hair color combination, which is E18, E08, YR18 and YR15. I also actually started off by doing a base layer with YR21, but while I was coloring I realized that for the look that I was after, that was a little bit too light for the highlights, so I chose to go in with YR15 all over it instead. It made the hair a little bit darker, but it also felt a little bit more unified for what I was after anyhow. I also went over it twice to kind of build up all the dimension in the hair. For her Gloria, I went in with the Ys that I've been using on the other Make It Crafty images, the Queens, but I felt it was a little bit too muddy in contrast to the orange, so I ended up going over with Y02 on top of it and kind of brighten it up a bit, and I think it brightened up just enough to fall into my liking. Then I'm going in and doing her skin, and with redheads, natural redheads usually have a very light skin, so I went with my normal kind of go-to color skin, which is E04, E11, E21, E00 and E50. I went over a couple of times with the different colors because in the beginning I didn't get the dimension that I wanted, but in the end I actually kind of liked it. I also added a little bit of blue to her eyes, then I used some neutral grays on her wings, and then I'm going in with a green combination on her clothing, because there's nothing as gorgeous as an emerald green together with red hair. That's my opinion, at least. You can differ, don't worry about that, but I really love this color combination. It is something very pleasing for me. Then I'm going in with a polychromos pencil to add a couple extra freckles and also add a little bit of makeup on her eyes just to shape them the teeny tiniest. And then I'm cutting her out with my Cutter B scissors. So I love fussy cutting. I live for fussy cutting. But if you do not like it and you do have an electric cutter like a Brothers Scan and Cut or a Silhouette Cameo, you can use that to cut out the angel. It is a digital image, so it's pretty easy to just add her into the software for the silhouette to get her both printed and cut. So now we're going to go into the card making part. I'm going to start with the Milk and Cookie Christmas pattern papers. This is something recently added to my stash and I'm just enjoying it. And because I've been using some not so crazy pattern papers lately, I've been going for those almost monochrome ones, I decided to go pretty crazy with this one. So I chose two pretty crazy papers and I wanted to show you a technique you can use those pattern papers with. So I cut it to 5.5 by 4 1/4. And then I did my first diagonal line about 1 inch, and then it's just smooth sailing because you line it up all the way on your inch line. For this specific one, you do it on your inch line, and then you will get the same diagonal line. And I'm cutting both papers at one time, and that is you have to do this with this technique, cutting the both paper with this at the same time, because then the pieces will be exactly the same size, and therefore you can mix and match them. Then I cut some ordinary just copy paper, thin copy paper, and to 5.5 by 4 1/4, and covered it with my tape runner so that I have a sticky surface. You could use like the double-sided sticky paper things to do this, but my tape runner works very well for it. I then go in, I keep my paper in the order in the corner so that it's easy to just pick the pieces. I found that placing them pieces down towards me makes it possible to, if you put them at an angle, just line them up or butt them up together, and then it's much easier to just line them up. And as you see here, I'm alternating the pieces, so I'm putting every other piece from one paper and every other piece from another. You could do this with any kind of width of lines, and you could even alternate the widths of the different stripes, which would also give a very cool effect. And then I went on and did that for the second background. I'm also using a little frame die from MFT to cut this out so that I get a little bit extra detail on the border and making it feel a little bit complete. You could use just a rectangular die or just cut it down if you have any pieces hanging over. Mine kind of lined up almost perfectly, so I could have used them as they were. So we're going to start with the little angel kind of card, and we are just going to add a sentiment to this. That is all. So I'm using this stamp set by Simon Says Stamp, and I have this Merry and Bright, which I stamp in some Versamark ink, and then I'm heat embossing this with some white Hero Arts fine embossing powder. And this time I didn't use a embossing pal, but I usually do. However, this came out surprisingly good for me not using a stamp pal. And then I finish it off by cleaning my stamp. I'm using this Brutus cleaner, clean off my stamps on my Nouveau stamp cleaner. It cleans magically. I love it. It's also something new I recently got in the mail. And then I cut down with my just trimmer. I cut down the sentiment to be so that it has about the same width on all sides. And then I add a little bit of foam tape to the end of it, and I put it up in the right corner. I'm doing this because I couldn't put it in the bottom corner. I would have needed to choose another sentiment, but if I put it in the upper corner, it worked well. And I'm doing a little bit of surgery here on my foam tape because I realized that I just wanted one layer foam tape on my whole card, so I didn't want the foam tape to overlap over my sentiment. And when that was done, I added some funky tape runner by Tonic onto the backside of my background, added that to a Nina A2 card base, and finished the card. And then we go in with the second card, where I'm going to use some other Make It Crafty products, and this is the Shipboard pieces. So these are the layering Shipboard pieces, so you get a background piece and then you get a more detailed piece to layer on top. So for my background pieces, I wanted them to be a little bit lighter. This is a very light kind of chipboard, that's the word. But I like to add a little bit of gesso, white gesso on top, just to brighten it a little teeny tiny bit. And to clean this up, I just use a paper towel and some water, and I could have used a lot less of that gesso, but I did get a good result. So for my Mary, I'm using some distress paint. This is in the Festive Berry color. Again, I think I used 2 drops here. I probably just have needed 1. So it doesn't use up that much color when you're using paints. I love using these paints because you can dab them off and get a very good solid area. And as you see, when I dab my color on, I use that with one of those foam things for my blending. I have some that I just use for my coloring, and then I just wash them in warm water, under running warm water, and they're clean. I can use them again. And this is a Mode Lawn green color. I really thought it would fit good with the same color scheme as the other card. After letting them dry, it is time to put them together. So I'm carefully pushing this out, and you really, in this case, you want them to be dry, because if they're a little bit wet, even though if they get dry to the touch, the color, they can still be a little wet inside the chipboard, and then they can tear a little bit if you're not careful. However, they dry in like 5 minutes. So while I went and cleaned those foamies, they dried and were ready to go when I came back. Then I'm using some multi-medium matte glue on the backside. I love using the multi-medium on all my kind of chipboard pieces. It makes them fit very, very well, and they kind of stick onto basically anything, both to each other and to the pattern paper. Now I'm going to do something on top of these in the end. So I'm starting off by adding my background directly to my Nina card base. And when that is done, I am using the multimedia matte again on the back side of these pieces, and I add them to my background. And as you see, that little white border that you naturally get with these layered chipboard pieces actually makes these stand out pretty nicely to those busy pattern paper. And I actually really love how simple but yet stunning these cards came out. To finish this off, I'm using some Nouveau Lace. This is really liquid, and I wasn't prepared for it, so I did do a little bit of overlapping in some places. I think I was in a little bit of a hurry when I did this. You can use this, or you can use other kinds of glazes. I kind of like this because this bottle does not stick, so like the nib, or what is called, the top of it will always flow perfectly out of it. I love the bottle. But yeah, those were the cards for today. I hope you liked them. If you do, please thumbs up. That was the video for today. I want to say thank you. Have something to say, comment in the section below. If you want to see more videos like this, hit that subscribe button down below. And thank you again for watching, and I'll see you later. All the materials used. So thank you again for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye!